Okay, hello everyone once again and welcome back to the Osu Mania LN Tournament 4th edition in the round of 16 bracket. On this fine Saturday we've got some more matches to go through, and once again we do have multiple matches going on at the same time, so if you want to watch alternatively MT versus Leakin, which is happening on Rush FTK's channel and also Bilibili, you can go ahead and watch that as well. But besides that, this is going to be the stream on the main channel, going to be ParasolTree versus verysour. So fair seed discrepancy between both of these separated players, and they're going to be in the losers bracket fighting to see who's going to be remaining in the tournament, in which it's honestly very scary seeing a top 10 in the losers bracket this early over an upset from Tonal's last week in the round of 32. So I feel that is going to be spelling a lot of things for verysour, that they're going to have to try their best to be able to prove fighting worth in this round alone. But of course, just before we jump the gun, I'm your host, Epic Man 2, and joining alongside me is going to be none other than Polytetral coming from a clutch. How's it going?
Hello everyone. Doing just fine. Check in on health. I'm way better now. I think I'm in much better condition to be casting here today with a Epic Man 2. So it is an honor to be back here again in the commentating booth with all of you.
Hell yeah, that's the spirit. And yeah, it seems like both these players going to be going through their protect some bans. It seems like ParasolTree is going to be going for the density to protect early on, and verysour is going to be responding with protecting coordination too. So definitely makes all the more sense. I believe Density 2 is one of the most popular maps, arguably, or at least soon to be one of the most popular ones in this map alone, just from how safe the map is itself. And then Coordination 2 is fairly technical in terms of how coordination there is handled, especially with this one being literally grand finals in 4DM 2022 or 4DM4. It is kind of scary to think about how this is literally here this early, but here we are, I guess.
Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough on how the map pools have been just getting increasingly harder and harder over the years. And imagine 4DM4 grand finals pick being here in round 16 must be kind of scary for some. But alas, here we are. And it seems that ParasolTree goes for Kamui as their first pick. So what do y'all think about this?
Yeah, I think it's a interesting map, to say the least. I mean, Kamui is definitely a map that definitely has a lot of these really technical aspects thrown in to catch out a lot of players as well. Going to be one of those picks where it basically just fishes out for a lot of these really intrusive mistakes that I feel none of these players really are immune to, and we can definitely see it here in the round of 16. So this is probably gonna have to be one of the moments, one of the things that verysour is gonna have to try and capitalize off of, because this is ParasolTree making the first move on the board after all. So anything can potentially happen here.
You're absolutely right about that. I believe Kamui was also from another tournament in the past. Seems like the laser climb got a little bit of an oopsie, but I think we're back on dual course.
Huh.
Yeah, it is back. It is back. Yes. Hallelujah. It is back.
Let's go. Thank God. Yeah, okay. Both these players going to have some pretty good starts to start things off, going past the first quarter. They now have a lot of these more technical flams and technical releases as well that they gotta keep intact. But so far, verysour is doing a really good job making sure that ParasolTree does not have the better end of the stick for the time being. It's only just about 1,000 points in the side of ParasolTree, with glimpses that it goes into the other side, but ParasolTree doing really well being able to combat that with the accuracy advantage intact.
Yeah, absolutely. This difference is obviously nothing but okay. As we mentioned, that the difference has actually swung in favor of verysour, and it goes back again. So there's just a little bit of flickering going back and forth right now. It's honestly kind of close.
Yeah, the fact this is only the first map and it's already literally this close. I think the last time I've seen this was one of the few matches that I commentated last week. So the fact that verysour is doing this well and being able to fight against ParasolTree is really crazy. But one great from verysour that I saw right there, but the score is still unchanging going off of some of these additional misjudgments that we see off the side of ParasolTree, which is scary to say the least, and that's another one.
I would say those releases are pretty tricky for this map itself, and I can see why both players are kind of a little bit tripping over each other, but it seems like for some reason, verysour, our lowest seeded player, actually does have the hang over all of these more technical releases, getting a better ratio overall and a less amount of grades, which is really impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, verysour doing really well, being able to win off of that first breakpoint, which definitely sends some signals to ParasolTree, not to mention this was really close. Like, the differential between both these players in terms of the judgments is only 20 perfects and 1 great. That alone sets the precedent that ParasolTree needs to try and pick carefully against this guy, but Coordination 2 appears to be the next pick, so that is going to be one of the protects being thrown out early, leaving Density 2 to be open for grabs for later on.
This is a very interesting pick to be starting off, to be honest. Since both players are kind of side reading, I kind of can see why some verysour, is it? Might be going for this pick. I can tell that maybe this is a map that both players have attempted before, since it is relatively more infamous compared to the rest of the pool, which may be filled more with customs.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that this map is being brought out this early is honestly a really bold move from the side of verysour, but at the same time, I don't think it's that bad of a pick, honestly. I mean, especially the fact that with these kinds of maps, you definitely want to throw out some of the more technical maps, and we have seen verysour fare very well on that Tech 1 pick, so this one probably going to be really close that in terms of performance. It really just boils down to how well both these players can really just go for a lot of these really awkward releases here.
Yeah, and I think as we have seen in the previous pick, both players are just kind of sizing up each other in terms of accuracy. ParasolTree initially gaining the advantage of 99.73, which is about 0.1% difference away from verysour. Verysour just getting a couple of 200s. He has a little bit of a distance to make right now. Although, yeah, this cut is relatively short. So honestly, there isn't a lot of time to catch up. There's more room for mistake, and yeah, it kind of really depends on whether ParasolTree is going to give him a couple of drops in probably the next minute or so.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's the one thing that verysour needs right now to at least reflect and to be able to rope the score back into their favor, because they have done that on Tech 1 very well, being able to maintain consistency nonetheless. And even then, with both players still having the FCs on the board, any misses can really shift the tides here, which is something that I feel ParasolTree does not want to afford themselves, because of the fact that they want to be able to try and counter this by getting this breakpoint back to even out things more. And we can definitely see it with the scoreline being about nearly 5,000 points in their favor, just going through a bunch of these sections, going through some of these releases to bleed out some of these misjudgments intrusively, but that is going to be a very good response from ParasolTree, even on a pick that was not theirs, and that is 2 breakpoints to start the match off.
We're off to a rocky start here. ParasolTree for very impressive, almost 1 to 7 ratio. Actually, verysour also kind of just falling a little bit short, but still a very impressive, perfect to marvelous ratio nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really just the fact that both these players are even facing down in the losers bracket is scary, and not to mention that, oh my goodness gracious, not again.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Bruh, already?
already. D3? Yeah, this song, one of our original songs of this tournament.
Yep. It was also one of my very first density maps ever in my 6 years or so of mapping. So, if anyone else, that's why some of the patterns are a little clunky for what you'd probably expect of my Ellen mapping. It was made a year ago, okay? Like, I have, like, no say. I have, like, no responsibilities in, like, the damage anyone's gonna be taking off of this map.
Nah, no. I presume that players don't feel the damage. I mean, a lot of this information is just really known to us, but regardless, I think they remain as very interesting fun facts, I would say. Yeah, this song, yeah, it was made like last year. Just for fun facts. I mean, while we're all going into this really, we're starting off this intro, it seems like ParasolTree, in fact, has dropped once while we were not noticing.
That is unexpected to say the least. I mean, I know ParasolTree is very capable of a lot of these LNs, but this would be the first point where they actually miss in the matches. Definitely something that is gonna send really bad signals to them, and that is gonna only put verysour into the forefront of the focuses going into this pre-core section where they still have the FC intact, and the accuracy is still quite a fair margin above, only 0.15% above and ahead of the paradigm. But going into the first cores, this is where the map goes super constant, and they cannot let up on the gas whatsoever, as it's literally just filled to the brim with Ellen jump stream, no more, no less.
Yeah, as we get into the dance section, which is coming up in about 5 seconds from now, we might see the tides change a little bit if any drops happen on verysour's side, but I think it's really dependent on whether they give ParasolTree the leeway to miss.
Absolutely, and verysour has been doing really well being able to combat the likes of ParasolTree, who is highly reputable for being a very strong player, especially in the Chinese community for various tournaments, either on their own or in MWC as well, where they are literally one of the core players for the Ellen side of things. So the fact that verysour is able to bleed out points from ParasolTree of all players, it's definitely maybe I'm literally living an opposite day. Like, what on earth is going on?
I'm just gonna say, this might be a little bit of a crash out for ParasolTree in terms of this pick alone. Yeah, I kind of forgot who picked this, but regardless of who picks this, it might be a little bit of a situation that ParasolTree has put himself in. Yeah, and it was in fact ParasolTree's pick, so that might have been a mess at big time.
That is breakpoints after breakpoints, and if we see this chain continue going into the wildcard section of things, then that is going to be really scary, because the fact that both these players are literally picking into each other's advantages is definitely a little concerning, don't you think?
Well, yeah, obviously, but I wouldn't say it's all really purely like picking into the opponent's advantage, but I think it's something a little bit of a matter of performance, because like a lot of these mistakes sometimes you can't really tell when they're gonna happen, and depending on the merits of the pick that you're making, there is a chance that your opponent might be able to make use of a miss that or like a couple of drops to actually be above you. So I personally found D3 to be easier compared to the rest of the density picks, so I probably can see why verysour could capitalize on that to kind of get the break point away from ParasolTree. But anyway, moving into our current pick, which is Wildcard 1, 24 Evo. Another very popular song from other tournaments.
Yeah.
Okay, was it Crime Miss? Oh, okay, it was Crime Miss. No,
Yeah,
nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, thankfully, the client always loves to mess around with our perception of the players, and there it goes again, twice in a row. Oh my goodness. what, client? You cannot be doing this.
He's fine. It seems like he's doing fine now. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's under control. So you got it under control.
All right, thank God. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, I feel like the main gimmick that I've noticed going into this match is that verysour has been picking into a lot of these more technical maps, so to say, where it's really not straightforward. It incorporates a lot of these shields, and especially with Wildcard 1 being relatively similar to that of Integral Cube, as we have seen earlier, only the fact that it's less about coordination, but more about raw consistency alone, that is really going to make it a little more difficult for both these players to really try their best to go on. And even then, we can see verysour still in with a pretty decent advantage, being able to sliver it out of accuracy alone going into the final third. But it's really just down to trying not to break any misjudgments out, because the minute that one happens, and is very crucial, it can easily slide into the side of ParasolTree here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just now we passed the speed up section of the song. I believe there might be another one coming up soon. And as you can see, we get into those shields, and verysour takes the first miss of this section. Oh man, that's gonna shift the point back to ParasolTree's advantage, which has been which is pretty crazy, because given that verysour's accuracy is still way higher than ParasolTree, this point was really illegal, I would say.
That is the 4th break point in a row. We need one of these players to at least break the tie, because this has been something that's been going on for a while. So if we end up seeing ParasolTree pick another map and it goes into the victory of verysour going off of another miss, then, bro, I am worried for both these players, man. This is literally like one of their final chances of being able to play in the tournament. If they fumble some more of these maps, then it's probably over if the chain continues, because otherwise the tiebreak is going to be forced out, and that is going to be Density 2 being thrown out. Finally, ParasolTree going to be bringing out their protect where it matters the most. ParasolTree really needs to try and break the chain of breakpoints that has been consuming this match all throughout the first 4 maps that we've had.
For real, yeah. He really has to find the chance to break the break point, as you could say. And as we head into the pick, D2, which is a map by Uis. So I think this is the density pick that everyone knows and loves from Uis.
Yeah, it is a fairly popular map even outside of this tournament. I believe this would have been featured in a few other tournaments as well prior to this one, but nonetheless, Uis is definitely a very high-profile mapper in the grand scheme of things when it comes to tournaments, especially on the Ellen side of things, where I believe most people would probably know about his work. So definitely makes sense to see it here thrown out into this map pool, where you basically get the gist of his type of Ellen density style, especially on the type of songs that he may or may not usually map, so to say.
Yeah, absolutely. verysour doing amazing right now, 99.80. Whereas ParasolTree kind of maintaining his consistency just as he has been throughout the entire match, with a 99.7. But it's not enough to catch up with verysour's pure accuracy on a pick as straightforward, or a little bit more premeditated or practice compared to maybe the other picks in this pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially here, going past the first quarter, they are now approaching back out of the chart. There's still so much of the map left to go, and 2,600 of combos remain on both sides. Both these players still maintaining the FCs. It's really just down to whoever blinks first that things are probably going to be changing for the worse, and that's something that neither of these players can afford, especially with verysour having a very good advantage. They need to keep this lead up for the rest of the map, because it just does not stop until the playfield disappears. That's all.
Absolutely. I think if we learned any lessons from the past few rounds, it is that you must never take your focus off the playfield until the end of the pick itself. And both players are really not letting up on each other right now. As we go into the last quarter of this map, both players pulling up similar accuracy statistics they have been throughout the entire pick itself. It's amazing consistency from both players. While we wait for the final load, and it is back up.
Yep, and we're going to be continuing to see what we have seen of the past few minutes of this map alone. Final 4 remaining. Both these players still doing really well, being able to maintain the full combos in question. No misses to be seen at all. It was really only just some misjudgments along the way that set the two apart. Some of these trills, some of these jump trills as well, some of these one-handed trill coordination-oriented patterns that are thrown in as well. But despite it all, verysour is going to be making it out of this one, making sure that they can continue the breakpoints while ParasolTree is still trying their best to try and snag a point, but unfortunately not going to be it for this one.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate risk on your own pick. I definitely could see this coming a little bit from far away, given ParasolTree's accuracy has generally been a little bit lower compared to verysour, at least on this match alone. Personally, I do know ParasolTree more for their late game consistency performances, which means a D2 pick might not size up that well against verysour, who I would assume is more of a accuracy focused player. And I think it's just not really that obvious because verysour's past opponents were all very intensely good, acutely good in accuracy all around. So I think it might be a little bit of an oversight from ParasolTree trying to pick D2, or maybe they were just trying to pick something that they were comfortable in. And verysour going right into D1, which is another one of our customs.
Gonna be full metal dip shies, as we can see. Gonna be the only remaining density map that we have on the board, as every other density map has been picked out prior to this, and this one is gonna be only leaving out 2 of the wild cards and tech maps remaining on the board to be played. So this is the moment where things are really gonna have to ramp up from the side of ParasolTree, where they're gonna have to try their best to continue getting points to be able to prevent a tiebreaker, because one more map and verysour can just easily reach match point, forcing a tiebreaker whether ParasolTree likes it or not.
Absolutely, and I believe that given the length and the difficulty of the tiebreaker, ParasolTree is definitely going to want to get to that point, but he needs to be able to get to that point to even see the light of day right now. And we're gonna get right into this D pick, our last D pick, and it seems like both players actually, ParasolTree actually starts out a little bit better than verysour. And the client does an oopsie again. Let's go.
Whoop, let's go. Okay, we're back. Alright, ParasolTree's in the forefront right now, but only by a very small margin. 2,000 points to break both these players apart, and both players are still FCing no matter what it is. It's just the axes are really tied right now. It's really just down to a lot of these judgments from the side of either player to really shift the ties, and we can definitely see it with both these players bleeding out a few misjudgments, and while ParasolTree tries their best to ensure that they can try and win off this map. But is this going to be how we may expect it? Is this going to be the storyline that they could be hoping for?
Yeah, perhaps, I don't know, we have been going back and forth with the breakpoints, and honestly, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be stopping now. And surprisingly, verysour not really having the best of accuracies at this moment of time, which is pretty surprising given how they've been performing overall on the D pick. But it is also something that perhaps, maybe because of how this map is actually patterned, and how some of these releases are non-trivial, it might have posed a little bit of a physical challenge to verysour. Perhaps seeing some fatigue actually start to set in, since this match is kind of getting to sunset.
Yeah, absolutely. And this map is very different from all the other cool density maps in question, so I feel like it definitely makes sense that verysour would take a draw on one of the parts here because of how more control-oriented this map is, arguably. because of the fact that while this does include a lot of the more straightforward density patterns that you would be expecting, it does have moments where it just changes things up a bit and shakes what you'd probably been expecting of a map like this, where it includes some of the more rhythmical and otherwise discomforting patterns as well to try and throw either of these players off. But ParasolTree is ultimately capitalizing off of that right now, just feasting off that one miss from verysour, which is going to be really hard to recover unless ParasolTree was to take a drop going into the final core here.
Yeah, actually, in fact, verysour's accuracy has actually been increasing over the past minute or so. There is a chance for them to actually kind of keep up with this and somehow overtake ParasolTree, but it is really dependent on a drop from ParasolTree. As we go out to the outro of this song, I highly think that it's highly impossible at this point. I do not want to confirm it, but I think it is set in stone as we see a 4.3k score difference being made by ParasolTree to get what is yet another breakpoint. Holy.
The chain does not even stop. We literally mentioned about it 2 maps ago, and it's still on, and now both these players are on free all. So it's really just 1 point away from match point for either of these players, and that is going to be one of the most important moments of the match as well. They're really going to need to try and break the tie one way or another if they want to just go out the match without a tiebreaker, because this is where things are going to be getting even more difficult, and we are going to be seeing Tech Free being thrown out by the side of ParasolTree, their final pick before we get to see what verysour has in store, because they're going to have a pretty strong counter. You have like 3 options on the board, which is either another technical map or one of the other 2 wildcard maps in question. But that aside, neither of these players are wasting any time. It's time to go into Edroll Syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. I did notice how ParasolTree and verysour mentioned that both of them are sight reading this pool. I don't know if Enroll Syndrome is a very good map to actually sight read, because there are a lot of Gracers and Dumps that are map to vocals. This one might catch them off guard a little bit, because there are a couple of sections that are a little bit unorthodox compared to the rest of the song in this pool, especially the swing section that comes at the beginning, which is I think right now. I just have to see how both of them sight read this.
Yeah, I think sight reads on these kinds of maps in general are definitely things that really open up for a lot of things it really opens up for all hell to break loose, because of the fact that you can really just like go into a map like this and you're not even going to be predicting like some of these really insanely odd patterns to be thrown out, and that is and that alone is something that can really trip you off your feet, and that's something that I feel one of these players have to actually capitalize off, because we're literally seeing the score flicker right now. There is no objective advantage in anyone's side. All we see is a Dr. Mario pill on the top going about a few hundred points in one's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. As what you said, 0.03% difference. I think the smallest accuracy difference we have had since the start of this match. It's just getting closer.
Oh my god, the fact that we're even already going into the halfway point of the map is already concerning, because why is it that we're already at this point of the map and it's still incredibly tied? Hell, this match alone for that matter.
Yeah, it's just absolutely baffling to see both players just perform so well at the moment, and it just doesn't feel like they are actually sight reading, because, to be honest, what in the world are these accuracies that are going on right now? As they go into this really weird section where there's a couple of ringing sounds, this part is arguably one of the weirdest part of the songs, in my opinion. And right now the accuracy is basically just non-existent. It's like teetering between 1k difference right now. Just absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, but that section over, it does seem like ParasolTree has taken a bit of a minor misjudgment, but verysour is not showing any immunity to any of the patterns after as well. It's only really just few tens of points in their favor, and the lead is literally non-existent. it's literally only by very few numbers, and it's not even going to be above 3 digits unless we see a misjudgment from ParasolTree. But I doubt that they are this willing to be able to just give it up so easily, because they have been trying so hard this whole round as in general, and they just still have so much left in them. But I think that's another bleeding of signals from ParasolTree as well going into this final section of the map.
I was gonna say that verysour, as a lower seeded player, might actually lose advantage on the last few picks, especially when some of them are a little bit more volatile than others, especially this pick. But for some reason, verysour actually wins this, and he keeps the breakpoint trend going on until the very last minute. Oh my goodness.
526 points. That is the lowest score difference this whole match. And it comes down to only one map, and it's down to verysour to end the match off. Whether we're going to be seeing one of the maps is going to be wildcard free. That's the final pick before tiebreaker. Oh my god, no.
And rightfully with a timeout from ParasolTree, I believe this is a very well-needed break from the players in order to really just collect themselves before they play Snoop Dogg.
Bro, literally. The fact that we're literally having such an insane match right now, and the final map is just Snoop Dogg is just... What does this tournament come to? I mean, I literally was waiting to upload this map for like a year and a half, and it only gets uploaded now, and it's used as like the most crucial map in this whole round. It's just, this does not happen. This is abnormal, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely not normal. Yeah, actually a lot of these schools were well, I mean, not to hide from anyone, this tournament has been in production for a very, very, very long time already. Some of these maps were made as early as early 2024, and they're only being showcased now. Some of them were actually released at earlier because of time and used for other tournaments due to foreseen delay in for OMLN4 in 2024. So like there was actually quite a little bit of this some of these customs were meant for this tournament, but they ended up going into other tournaments first. I think we'll see some of those picks a little bit later on into each of these rounds, but I just thought I would share a little bit because yeah, I think some people might be a little bit curious about how the tournament production came to be. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't say it's very interesting. I could tell more of this, but we had more timeouts like this, but I don't know.
Yeah, in general, there's a lot of work that has gone into this tournament alone to be able to make it like the product that it is, and we're only just approaching the halfway mark of the whole tournament itself, so there's still so much left to showcase of like what we have been working on. But of course, we cannot excuse that for a lot of these insane matches that we have been having for the past few weeks or so. And speaking of which, we actually got to see that the other round that was being streamed is over now. So MT is going to be knocking out Kim of the LN4 tournament, going to be making it 5-1 in their favor. So that definitely seems like a pretty tight match as from what I can see, but that is basically it. That is the other match going on at the same time as this one going to be out, and we still have about 3 more matches actually going to be streamed like at the same time right after this one ends. So the fact that we literally get to probably see a potential tiebreaker just before we see it all come down is definitely a sign to be wary of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just as we are planning to go right into the last pick of this match, let's go. At least the last free mod pick. And it is going to be the next episode, a remix of the next episode, which is also mapped by Epic Man 2. So yeah, the caster with me. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah. So anyways, yeah, verysour. I wish you the best of luck going into this map because While you did also my blessing, I can't really say how the match is gonna be going because there's only really 2 maps left if we do end up seeing this map be in the favor of ParasolTree, but things are looking really scary for both these players. It's really just down to the final map, which is only just shy of 2 minutes in length. This is going to be the map to try and transition into the tiebreaker, which is going to be Akashic Hex. If we do see it go in the favor of ParasolTree, in which we could definitely see here a few hundred points in the advantage of ParasolTree for the time being, as verysour kind of lower in the accuracy department, doing their best to try and recover. It's really just down to the next half of the map where things are going to be shifting quite drastically, probably.
Yeah, I believe the current accuracy right now is actually surprisingly in favor of ParasolTree. I think throughout the entire match itself, they have been just exhibiting, well, overall better proficiency in more release-oriented or more control-oriented picks so far. So I think this is really due for part of the cost. And as we get into this really interesting drop where we have a couple of races going, it seems like both players are actually doing fine at it.
Yeah, this core section is just really funny because this is literally what you would hear in everyone's intros back in 2014, and then seeing this be like a map that matters the most. But even then, verysour dropping throughout that as well. That's only going to bring the lead. 3,000 points of favor in the side of ParasolTree going into the final courses section, where it's very coordination-oriented, very filled to the brim with a lot of these bursts just between the embedded LNs, and that is going to be it. The final few LNs rain down, and now both these players are at 4-all. Both these players, it's now time to settle it on the tiebreaker. Both these players have been doing their best. It has been breakpoint after breakpoint this whole match alone, and they're gonna try and settle it all for one on none other than Akashic Hex, our tiebreaker mapped by Seimitsu.
Yeah, I gotta say this match has been an absolute insane thing to watch. I was honestly not really expecting this to be that close, given like the score difference and just basically how dominantly won some of the previous matches were. But I think really verysour has given ParasolTree a super match to actually deal with, a lot to actually deal with, a handful to be dealt with, and honestly right now just seeing the tiebreaker actually getting played in I think it's our first tiebreaker of the round of 16. But yeah, it is just so exciting to see because like once again, usually tiebreakers don't usually get played that often, and I don't know, it's just kind of a way to just see them not get played.
Indeed. The fact that we have come this far into the whole match and both these players have been really equal, even despite what the seedings have said, that is not going to fool us here, as both these players are going to be forcing that tiebreaker, and this one being in the loser's bracket as well. Whoever wins has to face the conditional between Arrow or Dark Mewtwo, and whoever loses is unfortunately going to be knocked out of the tournament straight on, in which this is going to be one of the few things that is probably most scary about this round in specific, because this is where a lot of good players start to get thrown out of the tournament's window, and that is something that both these players want to try their best to try and ensure does not happen, because verysour has been trying their best to upset the likes of ParasolTree in terms of seeding, in which they did take that time out for a reason, trying to make sure that they can bring themselves back into the equation in fighting chance. So this is the moment where it's gonna have to all come down into fruition.
Yeah, indeed, this is the moment that they have culminated into. Like, basically, this is the culmination of the entire match going into the tiebreaker, which is Akashic Hex. Actually, a custom, an original song coming from China, and so I don't know if both players were present at the LAN or anything, since there was a Mania section, but this was one of their featured songs by Half, and honestly, really great song. As we have this streamy section, it seems that verysour is struggling a little bit in terms of physicality, since like these bursts are significantly way harder than anything that has been thrown to them in round of 16. I can see the struggle that's coming, but actually honestly the struggle is also coming from ParasolTree. But as you say that, it's a move from verysour.
What? you're kidding, okay, that is it. But neither of these players having a combo intact is really just down to both these players to try their best to actually use the consistency that they've got to try and get as best combo as they can and maintain consistency, because if they go out of control, it could be over before it's even started, and we're only just past the first floor already. We haven't even gone into the full meat of the map, and there's still so much left. We're only just about 350,000 points of a score into the map before we get into the more triplet-oriented rhythm section that is going to be coming up in a bit, going past the first third of the map, and there's still so much left to go.
Yep, and we're now heading into the more coordination focus section of the map, which is halfway through the map. This can be a little bit difficult for some players, because it is kind of a little bit like a shield hell, a little bit of a timing hell, if you will, but maybe more of a skill-oriented section. This part, if you're not physically inclined enough in this matchup, there is a chance that you're going to be missing a lot, which verysour is kind of actually showing us right now. He's showing us a little bit of that kick that maybe has been building up throughout the rest of this match.
Yeah, indeed. And going into this BPM switch section, this is going to be where parents get a little more technical, contrarian to what we have seen of all the other courses prior to this one. Going to be introducing some of these more jack-oriented parents that focus a lot more on that shield factor, and that is something that both these players are actually doing really well, faring very well and scaling into that area very well. It's really just down to try and do their best, but this is going to be a ParasolTree is going to be taking yet another choke for that is 5,000 points in their favor, going to be decreasing for just the time being, as verysour tries their best to rope the lead back to their favor going into the final third, where it is going to matter the most out of every other instance that we've had throughout this match so far.
This match is definitely getting a little bit rough around the edges, as both of them have been dropping points around each other. And now we go back into the original BPM scaling, and we're going back into a second drop, which is a little bit more of a conventional like streaming section that's coming out for this. And as we get into this drop, I think this is the time where both players should be focusing on really building up the accuracy at this point. ParasolTree should definitely be focusing on really damage control, just trying to make sure that they still maintain a little bit of that combo advantage as they have been. But obviously the accuracy is kind of dropping a little bit. I suspect the two boxes are really getting a little bit far from each other. I'm not sure if it's like the nerf thing, but verysour continues to miss, so the margin continues to expand.
That is a devastating drop from verysour. This is going into one of the final sections of the map, but there's still a solid minute just about of the map remaining on the board for both these players to just go through, in which this is going to transition into that speed core section just shortly. There is no time to waste here. Anchors everywhere, as we could see, and it's really still 5,000 points in the favor of ParasolTree, doing their best to prevent the upset from being made, which probably would have shaken this whole tournament alone as we go into the outro section once and for all. I think ParasolTree might have done it unless we see one more miss from their side, but there's no way that he can let it out this easily.
Yeah, no. I don't think it's possible. It's because we still have a little bit more of the map to go. A little bit more of the releases oriented section where he has to kind of just get over it. And yeah,
he's done it.
Breath help.
Come on, lock in. Actos. Yes, he did it.
Indeed. This is just a straight up breathtaking performance from both players. Honestly, what do you mean they both got like what 20 grades each, and their ratio actually verysour still getting a better ratio than ParasolTree all around, which is super impressive. I think it just goes to show verysour is definitely an opponent that really cannot be underestimated
by any means necessary. Definitely one thing to note is that both these players are definitely nothing that you can underestimate going into this entire match because they have been doing so well. verysour tackling the likes of ParasolTree, one of the few titans in the Chinese community, especially in terms of how well they can play in tournaments as well. But unfortunately for them, verysour, despite all the strongest efforts that have been pulled and all the punches that have been flushed out, it's going to be ParasolTree preventing the upset at the end of the day, as verysour is going to be going home for the time being. But ParasolTree still has one more match remaining in the round of 16, going to be in the conditionals against between either Dark Mewtwo or Aero, otherwise known as Manuelchi.
Oh yeah, that matchup is definitely going to be very interesting. I will tell you, these are the loser bracket matches that honestly you wouldn't want to like miss at all. I feel like some of these are really worth watching, especially that one that we're just pointing out right now.
Yeah, indeed. But hey, at least the match results message makes a pretty good checker mark pattern, as we can see on the bottom.
Yeah, it's nice. It looks pretty nice. Not so complicated for the players, I would say. I think you wouldn't like to get loose on your picks all the time, which is pretty interesting. It's a really interesting dynamic we got here. I honestly, it will be the same for the rest of the rounds as things get harder, but it might have been experience.
Yeah, indeed. But once again, we still have quite a bunch of matches left on the board to witness in about 15 minutes. We're going to be having multiple matches happening at the same time. Going to be 3 of them. So Gazelle vs Poppy, Leon vs Newson, and lastly Pavan versus Flowerful. So definitely a lot of these matches are looking to be crazy, especially with the fact that Leon and Newson are in the losers bracket, and they're literally one of the few LN carries on their team, respectively, in MWC. So that is definitely one thing to be wary of. That is going to be of concern to the players watching. But that aside, there's still a lot left in which the matches are only in about 13 minutes. So I feel it is probably best that we take our leave here and give y'all a bit of a break for the 10-minute interval before we witness some more LN noodle goodness.
Yep, absolutely. I think none of these matches are things that you should be missing at all. I think Pavan vs Flowerful is another very, very jam-packed match that we'll be seeing in the round of 16. I personally, I'm not too sure how this stream's gonna go. Maybe we'll be doing a threesome again, I don't know. But we'll let you know in due course in the tournament server if that happens.
Absolutely, but I'm pretty much out of things to say. I've said all that I would have needed to say for the time being, so...
Yeah, same as well.
Yeah. Yeah, great minds think alike as usual, so... I think it's safe to say we can take our leave here and give y'all some breathing room. Because, you know, you need to rest your ears. You definitely need them for a lot of other aspects in your life, you know what I mean? Unless you want to tune into the other matches that are happening later today and tomorrow, but again, that's at your own discretion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can finally close out the stream right now, and yep, we'll be seeing you in about 12 minutes time. Yes.
Yeah, toodaloo.
Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to OMLN4 Long No Tournament 4. We're back with another set of round of 16 matches on this lovely Saturday. And we are picking up the pace just a bit more today with a double header actually. What you're seeing right now is Pavin versus Flowerful, but I believe on another stream you'll be able to see Dark Mewtwo versus Arrow. But for now we will have our eyes peeled for this match. And I mean, wow, this is going to be a match and a half. Two of the most well-known and well-respected Long No players in the OMLN community going head-to-head against each other. This is going to be a match and a half. As always, I am Verysour, and commentating along with me is going to be none other than Yongin. How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm gonna be reffing the match at the same time, and this is gonna be a very interesting match. Last weekend, we did see Flowerful upset against Ray, the highest seed, only 3 seed higher than him though, but he does show some crazy strong score. And against Pavin though, it's gonna be a rough match, a lot harder than Ray, probably even. So gonna see what's gonna happen between this match and how many strong score we're gonna be seeing today.
Yeah, you did put it there well. Flowerful did pull up that upset against Ray last week, so Flowerful not very surprising when it comes to setting upsets against players, but it's going to be definitely a hefty challenge when you're up against Pavin, one of the greatest LN players of their current generation. Definitely a strong suit in that Thailand, especially in the Thailand Oceania World Cup. Definitely one of the strong suits in that legendary roster. But right now, Pavin opting for that first protect. Going to be Density 3, so we are going to see our original staying up here.
Yeah, it's lower BPM than the last weekend, but it's quite dense, and some of the transitions on that map is quite difficult for players to play, especially some of the shield transitions and some of the stronger, I would say some of the stack stairs, short LNs are quite rough for players to handle. It's easy to find some miss, and we do see a wildcard free protect from Flowerful. So another, I would say, higher density-ish type of map. I would say both these players are definitely more your type of high-density players.
Yeah, and with that, our protects are out of the way. Flowerful going to get that wildcard 3 protects. They're going to opt for the next episode, Song Polo Remix. A bit of an interesting option for Flowerful that is a very more technical slash dense wildcard picks. Maybe just going to see if they can catch their opponent off on some of the more uncomfortable picks. And Coordination 1 makes sense, as you probably not wanted to limit as much opportunity of Coordination to Pavin, as they are one of the greatest ratio players to really drop into the scene. But I know Flowerful can keep up with that ratio game, just not in the shadow of Pavin. And Pavin gonna knock out Technical 3, so gonna stick to their guns here, probably gonna go for that coordination slash density pool, while Flowerful going to kind of flip the other side here and go for more of those tech slash wildcard based picks here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a wildcard immediately get thrown out here from Flowerful.
Yeah, especially we do see, obviously both players are kinda knocking out some of the more gimmicky, techy maps. Coordination 1, probably the weirdest map out of all. Not surprised that it's being knocked out. It has been like that throughout every single weekend. It's basically the most banned map throughout the entire tournament. And we do see Flowerful instantly picking his protect, and I guess he's gonna bring out the doggy Snoop Dogg time. And it's time for banger, guys.
Yeah, immediately opting for their protect. Interesting to go for. And I mean, like I mentioned, banger song here coming up here. Flowerful quote for Snoop Dogg. Sure.
Yeah, this map is very funny, I would say. It's a It's a very free form, a dumpy type of a pick. There's many improvisations on the voice as well, and a lot of inverse stairs like patterns. And it's also just like every week's wildcard 3, dance on war patternings, and probably highest in terms of physicality for out of all the wildcard picks.
Yeah, I think Flowerful probably gonna try to maybe just exhaust Pavan more on those more denser physical long notes. I know Wildcard 3 definitely being one of the more physical out of the 3 here. And both of these players going in on a sight read, that is a bit interesting. But we are going to see how this plays out. I feel like a map like this can go probably either way. I think this map is tricky enough to where these players can definitely find a slider break if they are not careful, especially on a sight read. That's a bit concerning. These are one of the maps you don't want to go in on a sight read, as there's just so many unexpected bursts and technical patterns just thrown at you. It's very easy to just have one slip up, and I mean, with how consistent these two players are, it is going to be not an easy battle.
Yeah, especially what you hear right now, the chorus. There's a lot of like rolling patterns throughout the entire part, and it's easy to catch up players in terms of reading, especially the release as well. It's also on like a stair release, which you already see kind of a bit of a preview on some of these stair patterns. Only at the start of the map though. It's in the latter half of the map, especially the final course, it gets so much harder. For now, a very close match, and Pavan's barely in the lead by 300 points.
Yeah, this is going to be our ongoing trend here. Pavan getting that slight edge of lead here out of the opening, 99.93 to a 99.87. So a pure ratio battle between these two so far. And I feel as if just a singular 200 will make a difference in a map like this. Also, a fairly short map as well, so you don't have much margin for error. And right now, these players just experiencing these more flammy LNs here. Some of these bursts starting to become more prominent. I think Flowerful might have dropped a 200 as that score lead has increased by about maybe 1,000 points or so in favor of Pavan. But transitioning into our bridge, almost into our first drop here, we can see what happens here.
Yeah, we do see for players who are not used to Mania, we're seeing a different scroll speed from both sides, which because Firefall is putting his scroll speed a lot higher, and we do see 100 being dropped over there on the final slider. Thankfully, it wasn't a slider break, but it was really close, and it does drop his score by a lot. And Pavan still doing an absolutely fantastic score right now on 99.8x, completely destroying the map despite side reading. This player is capable of playing some of the MWC, possibly even grand final maps. On some of these like not so easy maps, he still destroy them and think it's like a walk in the park, and he's going to be destroying the first map of the match.
Yeah, Pavan opening up this chart, 995.7, and it really just, and even with the V1 double S as well, insane efforts on the side of Pavan. Flowerful did try their very best and almost matching up with Pavan's ratio here, about roughly 73 300s of difference here, but those extra 200s and those 100s will weigh down that score definitely. Even just 24 points shy of a 990, very impressive score from Flowerful as well. But Pavan going to pick up that first break point of the match here to go up early 1-0. This is going to be one of those matches I see where it's just you're gonna have to try so hard to match up with your opponent because they are in a whole different league, but definitely not in any stretch of the imagination impossible. And we are going to opt for our next pick here from Pavan, immediately jumping for Density 2. Makes sense.
Yeah, this is, I would say, the short low notes autopilot's pick. Lots of Rise True spams They are kind of autopilotable, but they still could be a bit tricky. After all, there's still some rise patterns and mostly about stamina handling. And I would say these two players are quite strong in the density regard, especially Pavan. Probably think this is a walk in the park again. Probably just like most of the picks in the pool, maybe outside of some of the more gimmicky type of maps, which I mean they kind of ban out both of them. So we see how both players does on this map.
Yeah, you definitely put it there very well. I think these players are skilled enough to where these maps are kind of just a walk in the park for them. No, not really going to sweat too much over these picks, but it's just really it's just going to be a giant accuracy battle, and that's how we saw Wildcard 3 play out. Both of these players almost getting 990 on each respective side, and this is a round of 16 pool as well. So definitely in contrast, I don't think these players played in OMLN3, but if you were around for OMLN3, you can definitely see it was definitely a lot less of a increase, or definitely a decrease in the difficulty like some of us old hags over here who were around for OMLN3. But either way, a density pick, I don't know how to feel about this for Pavan. I feel playing an LN on with more snapped nodes like this, I feel could make those ratios a lot more tight. And I mean, Flowerful right now is actually having the benefit right now by just a couple hundred points, but still, a lead is a lead.
Still super close between these two players. After all, these two players are destroying some of these straightforward maps. I guess both players kind of just want to avoid some of the weird maps, such as like Coordination 1, Coordination 2, Technical 2 type of maps, like gimmicky stuff. But once it comes to straightforward maps, they are just head-to-head against each other. And Flowerful, basically last weekend destroying all the straightforward maps, and he is showing it one more time why he is here, why he upset Ray last weekend, and he is particularly in the lead by 200 points. I mean, it does makes it higher to 400, but still anyone's game.
Yeah, I mean, even though Flowerful was up by just 1/100th of a percentage, still nothing. Like, there is no such thing as a concrete lead in this situation, as it's just sheerly ratio. Now, Flowerful is the one 1/100th of a percentage behind of Pavan in this current moment right now, as we only have 1/3 of the map left to go. 70 points in favor of Flowerful heading into our final break of the map. Oh boy.
God. Sonny, this is a match and a half, and Flowerful still leading by 100 points, and she needs to hold on at the last chorus, where the map just gets a bit denser in the final part. Especially there will be more stamina required, as the map has already went on for 2 minutes. Final part of the map.
Yeah, heading into our final main density section of the map, and it's going to be pretty much textbook density here. Nothing really too much to worry about. Is just you cannot afford any bad judgment whatsoever. It has to all be rainbow 300s. Even just a spur of yellow 300s could be the deal breaker here. And now the score lead is flickering back and forth, heading into the ending. Who is going to take it? It's going back and forth now. Pavan has the accuracy advantage, but Flowerful is just 1/100th of a percentage back. And oh my goodness, 64!
I'm in the edge of my seat, but Pavan at the end just barely scrapped the lead, and such a unfortunate end here for Flowerful. She was so close throughout the entire map, but unfortunately, sometimes like this happens. Just 60 points, and you already lost the point. Just the sheer 7 300s separating between these two.
Oh my goodness, that is a difference of 7 300s, and I think that came down to that ending density section. Like I said, all has to be rainbow 300s. You cannot afford a spur of yellow 300s, and I think that's what caught Flowerful in the long end here. And I mean, that was insanely close. I don't think Pavan wants to gamble on a density pick like that ever again, as Flowerful was just 9 300s away from snagging a back-to-back breakpoint situation here. But for next up on Flowerful's pick here, I mean, seeing how that pattern went for Density 2, wouldn't be surprised if she jumps in another Density map here. Probably gonna avoid Density 3 as it was protected by pattern, or if she's feeling brave, could go for Density 3. But Density 1 I feel would be a much more safer option in her eyes if you don't want to go for if you want to stick into that density range. But actually we're gonna stay in the wild cards here. We're gonna opt for wild card 2. That's also fine too. I thought maybe just how close wild card 2 went, you would want to stay there, but here we go with Raindrop.
She kind of has been saying that she's just picking for songs rather than picking for very close map. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think Density 3 or Density 1 would definitely be the pick here. Possibly Density 1 the best, even though I would say Density 3 highest BPM may also benefits Flowerful really well, as she usually does quite well on some of these maps. But she's gonna be going for Wildcard 2, basically the shield physicality check. It does have some fast coordination requirements, and it does spikes up in some sections on combo 1000, 1500 and 2000, where the intensity of the shields does spikes up a lot, and some of those jacks are very hard to handle. So basically your shield jack, mini jack map, and we might see some misses on this map, because I would say this map is actually quite easy to chuck on.
Yeah, maybe Flowerful kind of, instead of opting for that ratio game, just going to see if they can trick up their opponent in a more of a shield department. And I mean, Flowerful just completed my sentence here. Pavin picking up a very early break. I mean, they are just on doorstep to go back up to that 400 combo cap, but I mean, like I mentioned, these are two absolute giants going at it right now. These are some of the two most notorious, well-respected, and greatest LN players to have in their current generation. I mean, that are still that are participating in this tournament right now. And I mean, I've seen enough Flowerful highlights to where just as long as she can hold on to a map like this, it shouldn't be that much of a hassle. I mean, 6,000 points of insurance with an early break from Pat, and that's pretty much all she needs for a pick like this. But you cannot always be 100% certain. There is always there's always some side effect or a trick up someone's sleeve here. And I mean, Pavin is doing a wonderful recovery from that break. They're already 0.08% behind Flowerful's accuracy right now. But I think right now it's that combo game that's keeping her in favor here.
Here's the hard part of the map. The intensity does spike up by quite a bit. We're going to be seeing two of these sessions. This will be the first one we see shields going left and right, and both of these players does hold on their combo. We do see Flowerful dropping a bit of an accuracy here, giving back Pavin slightly bit of a lead, as Pavin has been building back up that combo very nice. But we are now almost into the final part of the map, and this is another intense session, and Flowerful instantly drops a break, and the lead slowly escape back to Pavin's side, and Pavin's now in the lead because he has the combo, he has the accuracy, and this might be another dream just diminish the last second.
Yeah, you really have to take into consideration the nerves that Flowerful was probably getting near. I mean, that was at the tail end of the map, and that looked to be potentially just a misread or nerves getting the best of her. As now, Pavin is in the driver's seat here, a whole 1/10 of a percentage ahead of Flowerful. There's just not enough map left for Flowerful to really climb back here, and Pavin gonna go up unanswered here, 3-0, with a heartbreaking slider break at the end of the chart by Flowerful, and Pavin gonna take another breakpoint here. And I mean, on this occasion, it just came down to misses, as Pavin did pick up 2, but Flowerful getting a more handful of 200s and 300s, but only 2 slider breaks. So in that scenario, if Flowerful I think if Flowerful didn't find that slider break and FC, she would have taken that point back in her favor. But either way, Pavin going to go up 3-0. Still, anyone, I would say, I could say right now, Pavin is not entirely safe As, I mean, we have seen how these previous maps went. Flowerful is not going to give up anytime soon here, and Pavin going to go for coordination too.
Yeah, last map, like I mentioned, the intensity just spikes up a lot in those two combo count, and unfortunately, the second half of the map, second half of the hard part does call up Flowerful, and now we're gonna be into probably one of the most difficult map in the entire pool to be consistent on. Not the hardest in terms of physicality, but this map is very awkward. Map by Juan Crystal, and it was featured in 4-digit Mania World Cup 4, but this map probably does not belong there at all. Extremely hard throughout the entire map. Lots of tacky anti-foul anchors featured throughout the entire map with shields as a transition, so very hard for players to keep a combo on the map.
Yeah, very interesting map to go for here, and I think Pavin, just with my initial intentions here, probably going to see how that ratio game works in their side. I mean, not to say Pavin can easily take a point like this. We saw what Density 2 was like. Flowerful can definitely keep up with Pavin's ratio game, but with a more coordination-based pick instead of just pure density, maybe Pavin's looking at it in a different lens here and testing out how Flowerful can release these LNs more than play them in a density setting here. But I think even then, the ratio game will still be very, very close. But, ladies and gentlemen, here we go with potentially Pavin's last pick in this match.
I think this is a very good pick from Pavin. Something like you mentioned, I would say both of these players are definitely more your regular type of like density type of mappers, straightforward type of players, but when it comes to some of these weird stuff, it might makes players trust a bit, like we saw in the last map, a lot of shield, and this map is basically the same thing, but with lower BPM, not lower BPM, but like lower density in general, and some of these releases are just annoying to play after all, and still very close map, but we may see some misses in this map because this map is extremely missable, and we are only in the first 40% of the map.
Yeah, very, very shield infested with lots of shields are really showing up in that first half of this map. And right now, this lead has been flickering back and forth right now. Interesting that Flowerful is actually 0.03% behind Pavin right now. That is a bit frightening, seeing how that lead was flickering back and forth, but now as this lead or this accuracy starts really building up now in Pavin's favor, now pretty much almost pretty much a 1/10% ahead of Flowerful as we head into another shield heavy section here with also some of these releases, really coordinating these LNs. Pavin does find a bit of an accuracy drop, but so does Flowerful, and now right now it's almost 2,000 points in favor of Pavin as we head into our final 6 of the map here. Flowerful is, I mean, trying their very best here, but I think we're gonna have to see 200s from Pavin here if Flowerful wants any shot to really take a lead here. But that lead's starting to actually decrease as Pavin needs to find a bit more of accuracy drop, and I don't think it's going to happen. And with a 991 still falling short, getting that, wait, out ratioing Pavin?
She did it! She out-ratioed, but unfortunately these misjudgments just happened. It once again a really close map. I would say these two players are very identical in terms of their skill sets, but some of these just unfortunate misjudgments from Flowerful has been causing her score her points on every single map. She is very close, touching Pavin's back behind all of them. And she just shows why she was able to upset against Reggie last weekend, and she is still here to give Pavin a one for their money.
Yeah, and it looked pretty promising there from Flowerful. I mean, she did get the better ratio, but unfortunately, it really just came down to those extra judgments that she picked up, those two 200s, and I believe a 100 as well. But for now, we are down to potentially Flowerful's last pick in this match, as Pavin has made it to match point here. And I mean, this isn't a winner-take-all situation. This is a winners bracket match, so it's not like Flowerful will be eliminated or any of these players will be knocked out from the tournament. They will just have to settle in the losers bracket from now on. But Flowerful going to try and get on the board with Density 3 here, and I mean, I keep on harping on Density 2, but I feel like just one of these densities could do the trick. And what better than to go for our original?
She's doing the boss move, I would say. Just picking someone's protection without knowing it's even Pavin's protection. She just asks, okay, what are the density? Which densities are left? Okay, ref, just let me roll one of them, and we'll play the one that I roll to. And the answer was density 3. Like I mentioned, both of these players really enjoy some of these straightforward maps, and this map is definitely a lot more straightforward than what we just saw on the previous 2 maps. It's like custom song after all, starts with 190 BPM, it does speeds up 210 in an actual map. Lower BPM the last weekend, but the transition between the density dump sessions are the hardest part, and they are easy to call off players. The physicality requirements are extremely high, and we may see some players who has higher skill cap in general benefits in this map, and they might also get like a wonderful, absolutely amazing ratio in this map. But before that, they have to suffer these slow sessions, which everyone has been not having a fun time playing that. Like, they legit will get higher accuracy after this map.
Yeah, and I mean, going in to this pick here, I feel as if Flowerful, I mean, we saw Density 2. Right now, I think it's just, we're gonna have to see a V1 SS or 200s being dropped on the side of Pavin. But I mean, here we go. Opening up with this map is a very short map, so you don't have much time to really work with here. But I mean, just as long as you keep that ratio in check and do not drop any 200s, I mean, it is definitely doable. Right now, Flowerful is in the driver's seat by only around 400 points or so. As the map does approach its first break, we are already in the back half of this map, and oh boy.
Right, Bancho is gonna be stopping us right possibly before the last part of the map. That is a Bancho miss from Pavin. It's not an actual miss from him, so we should be seeing his real score very soon. Very soon. Flowerful is not 22,000 points ahead. But yeah, we may even see some unsyncs, and there we go. Finally, Pavin scores is back to normal, and he is in the lead by a tiny bit for some reason. But I do believe Flowerful is just a bit behind compared to Pavin's client, so Flowerful should be the one in the lead, but especially by the 0.03 percentage difference.
Yeah, I think you are right about just the clients being a bit desynced, but I mean, we are reaching the tail end of this beat map, and I mean, this lead is slowly but surely closing in, as Pavin is really just behind by only about 0.02%, and right now, 500 points in Flowerful's favor. It is, you cannot afford a single 200 here. No, do not say that. Don't say that. There are still these releases. I think she might have. I think you're right. She did it. She has done it by 456 points by just 27 300s. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely crazy score from both sides. Both players score you an SS the map, and these 2 players, after all, are your regular density players, and they shows they thrive in this lot. But Flowerful shows that why she was the one beaten upsets last weekend, and she is here to show up that I can even take off some points against one of the best player ever, scoring a point on density 3. Now it's Pavin's pick, and he just said it. He said Kamui, and it's time to bring out the big guns.
Yeah, interesting pick on the side of Pavin, looking to close up shop here. And really put this match to rest. But I mean, Flowerful now refusing to give up as we are headed into Tech 1. A song everyone should know. This is a very, very well-known song in the community, and actually one of my personal favorite OG ranked maps, if you are well aware of the ranked map of this. That's very old. I think it's like 10 years old or something. But anyway, I'm going off topic.
I mean, is it a pretty old map after all? It was featured in Asia 3G Cup 1. And I think the map showcase put it the best way. Very messed up and weird mapping. Basically sums up for this map. It's a high BPM tech map, and the map is kind of flows on the release, and it's just extremely hard to act. It's not really dense, that's why it's in a technical slot despite the high BPM requirement. So it's a weird map, and Firefall has been avoiding some of these weird, awkward maps throughout her journey this tournament. We'll see how she does on this map, but not looking too well. And I would say this pick is definitely favored towards Pavan. But I mean, Pavan has been showing that he was sight reading some maps, question mark. So, but I don't think they are sight reading this map because of how popular this map is.
Yeah, and potentially, I mean, I said it before, this could potentially be the last pick of the match here, Pavan at match point, but Flowerful is not looking to give up here and looking to see if she can really claw back any more points. And I mean, it is entirely doable. These players have been so neck and neck when it comes to scores. It only comes down to just maybe the extra 200s or 100s or even slider breaks that these players drop. If you X those out and it's just like a big hypothetical, if every player if both of these players V1 SS every map, it would, I don't think that lead would cross over like 1,000 points, or just FC'd every map even. I don't think that lead would cross 1,000 points, but right now, Pavan ahead by a pretty solid amount just off of sheer accuracy as we head into a bit more of a more ricey section here and there, but heading into the back half here, only around 700%, and even then I saw that lead flicker just a tad bit in Flowerful's favor, but still nothing too much here.
And you can see some of the release of these short long notes, and also with the different kinds of long notes, it's just awkward to play. And here's the part that it's easy for players to drop accuracy, and some of these weird mappings. Once again, after all, it has been benefit Pavan for the entire match, and he is building a quite a decently strong lead now on at least a 4-digit, the biggest we see since 3 to 4 maps ago with a mess here. And I do believe Pavan only needs to hold on the last 10% of the map, and that will be all she wrote for this match. And I think that's gonna be it. Pavan will be the one moving on to the finals, quarterfinals winners bracket, knocking out Flowerful to the loser brackets.
Yeah, a very, very close nail biter here, as only just above, just not even above 2,000 points of difference. Oh my goodness, a very, very valiant effort for these two players. And I mean, Flowerful going to be sent down to the losers quarterfinals, but not without a fight. She pulled up a upset against one of our, I believe, top seeds, I think, Ray, last week, and then taking off a point from our second seed. But unfortunately, that will be all that Flowerful writes in the winners bracket. But for Pavan, like you mentioned, they are going to move on to the winners quarterfinals for a very interesting matchup next weekend. It is going to be, I would say, friendly fire. Pavan will be going up against Konkawa next weekend. Two of the most insane Thai players you'll ever come across, and I mean, also Konkawa, an absolute god. So that is going to be an insane battle of Thailand next weekend. But I believe for that losers bracket, I don't know who Flowerful's opponent will be. It'll either be LSA Stall or Bagietka, which I believe that will be figured out later on in that losers bracket once the conditionals get out of the way. But for now, I believe some of our other doubleheader matches have concluded. Leon did win by default against Newson, and Gazelle did win 5-1 against Poppy. So that does wrap up our little bit of the block we had here all at the same time. But do you have anything else to say, Yon Gin, before we end off the stream here?
I was gonna say Flowerful probably will have a very strong loser bracket 1. Especially, I would say her seed maybe a bit lower than, I would say, what would people expected. To believe she can probably make it through, possibly to the semi-finals, so she will at least be in the lower brackets for quite some time. Next match, we do have one more match in 16 UTC, which is going to be another French player, Dark Mill 2, versus against Arrow in the loser brackets. A bit bigger in terms of seeding difference, but hopefully it will be another great match with Arrow after all getting to a tiebreaker last weekend and winning out by such a close margin. So don't go anywhere at 16 UTC when it's going to be streaming Dark Mill 2 and versus Arrow on twitch.tv/OSUMania live. And thanks for being here with me, Sunny. It was a great match.
Very, very nail-biting match. But for now, like you mentioned, we will be back in the upcoming hour. So in about 25 minutes or so, we will be back for Dark Mewtwo versus Arrow. So take this moment to take a little break, get some water, stretch, do whatever you want, and we will be back at 16 UTC. So I've been Arasani commentating along with Yongin. We will see you in about half an hour for our next match. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.